Muhammad Aleph at the Mishnah. Batzik shebesidke areva. You have dough that's in the crack of a bowl. So maybe a kneading bowl or something, and there's dough that's stuck in the cracks in it. We'll see exactly that. There's going to be three possibilities. How much dough is stuck? That's what we're going to discuss about now. But it could be on the bottom, it could be on the sides, it could be on the rim. Maybe it could be on the back also. So, im yesh kazayis b'makam echad, if there's a kazayis of dough in one area, then it's chayav levar, you have to destroy it because it's chametz. Yeah, levar is to burn. The im loy or im lav probably, and if it's not a kazayis, then batal b'miyuta, then it's batal. Now, typical question is, why didn't you say chametz is b'mashel? Right, chametz isn't batal. So, there's a few reasons. One is that that's only by Yisra Achila. That's when it comes to eating. Here, it doesn't have to do with eating. This is Bal Yirah, Bal Yimatzah. No, I didn't see the Gemara discussing this here. The other thing is that the other possibility is that it's bottled to the sides. It's a different sort of bittul. Becomes useless. Becomes not useless. Becomes part of the bowl. Could also be a difference. Okay, whatever the case is, it's easier. The easier answer is that by Yisra Achila, it's we say chametz isn't batal. Okay, v'chein le'inyan hatuma. Can have a big discussion, and so too regarding impurity. Im makbid alav chaitzitz, im reitz b'kim arei kareva. Im makbid alav means that if you want to get this dough out of this bowl, it's stuck to it, and you want to clean it out, and then you want to be table the bowl, you want to put it in the mikveh, and you didn't clean it properly. So if you wanted to get it out, so then that's a chatzitza, and the bowl wasn't table. But if reitz b'kiyuma, if you want that dough to stay there because that's a way of plugging up. Yeah, so here it's not considered a broken vessel because it's not broken enough. It has a little crack in it or whatever. But this, if you reitz b'kiyuma, if you want this to be here, then it becomes part of the vessel, and then it's acceptable for the tefillah. It's a crack. Okay. As if it's sealed, and chametz as a sealant, as a glue, and this would not be a chatzitza regarding the tefillah. I'm sorry. Areva is the kneading bowl. It's like the bowl. It's like the bowl, and it's not a chatzitza. Okay, we're going to have a statement over here from Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. We're going to be able to read it two ways. The first way is going to be more lenient. The second way is going to be more strict. And we're going to support this with brises for each one. At the end, we're going to conclude that actually they're both saying the same thing, and it depends what they're referring to. It depends on which situation. We'll be able to resolve this. Okay. I'm Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda is a student of Shmuel, and right after Rav, he went to Shmuel. He says the following, in the name of Shmuel. Remember in the Mishnah, we said that if there's a kazayas, b'makam echad, Leishanu means it wasn't taught. Ella. That's Gemara. Oh, okay, so 1 second. In the Mishnah, we learned that if there's a kazayas in one place, so then you have to burn it. That was only taught in a place she'ina siyim lachazik, where it's not there to strengthen the bowl. I said that it was filling a hole. Here that's only if it's not filling a hole. But if it's filling a hole, it's strengthening the bowl. Asim lachazik, it's made to strengthen it. It has a function in the bowl. You hear what's going on? Even a kazayas chametz, becomes not chametz, becomes the bowl. You don't have to destroy it. Michlal, but this implies even more than that. The pachis mikazayas, I feel makom shenoslim lechazak ein lechai levar. You hear this? Less than the kazayas, even with no function, it's less than the kazayas. It becomes like nothing. Pachis is less. Ein lechai levar. It's a big chiddush, a big kula. Kula from both ends. A kazayas has a leniency in a certain situation, and less than the kazayas is mamish lenient. Ikademasni la seifa. Some learned the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel not on the kazayas part, but on the other part, which comes out of Chumrah. V'im lav, what does it say? V'im lav, if it's not a kazayas, batal b'miyute, then it's nullified. That's a quote from the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, Leishanu Ella. This was not taught only. This was only taught. Ella b'makom asir lechazik. When do we say that less than a kazayas, you don't need to destroy? That's if it's made to strengthen the bowl. In other words, less than a kazayas needs to have a function. But if it's not made to strengthen, then it's chayav levar. Then even less than a kazayas, I have to destroy. It's a big chumrah. Michlal, but this implies even more than that. The kazayas, I feel makom asir lechazik chayav levar. That a kazayas, even if it has a function, has to be destroyed. You never have a leniency for a kazayas. There's two ways of understanding of using. Forget it. One kazayas, forget it. Less than a kazayas, it depends. That's the second one. Tanya Kalishna Kama, Tanya Kalishna Basra. We have a brisa that supports the first way that we have it. We have a brisa that supports the second way. Tanya Kalishna Kama, the brisa that supports the first way, is batzik shebesidkari, a dough that's in the side of the kneading bowl. B'makam asir lechasik, it's in a place that's making it stronger. So eina chaytzitz ve'eina over. It's not a separation by the mikveh, by tefillah, and you're not over on Pesach. We didn't say how big it is yet. All we said is that it's strengthening. Ub'makam she'eina asir lechasik, but if it's not strengthening the bowl, doesn't have a function, then chaytzitz v'ayver, the opposite, right? It's considered a chatzitza, and there's a prohibition on Pesach. When do we say this distinction? Asir l'chazik, not asir l'chazik. What's its function? That's bekazayas. That's if there is a kazayas there that makes a difference what its function is. Abel pachas mikazayas. It's less than a kazayas. I feel about even if it doesn't have a function, it's not strengthening the bowl. It's not a chatzitza, and it's not a prohibition on Pesach. That's the first way. The chatzitza part is interesting. I can understand maybe less than a shear for Pesach, but why is it not a chatzitza? If it doesn't have a function, I don't know. Is that how it works? Less than a kazayas? I guess. Yeah, that's what it's saying. Usually, chatzitza works with. There's two things with chatzitza. One is if it covers the majority or the minority of the item. Another thing is, do you care if it's there? Do you want it to be not there? Those are the two things. Right. Okay. Tanya Kalishna Basra. There's a brisa that supports the second way of reading, which is more chamer, more stringent. If you have dough that's in the side of a kneading bowl, if it's strengthening the bowl, then it's not a separation by the mikveh, and it's also not a prohibition on Pesach. We're on top of Memheim Biz, 45b. But if it's not strengthening the bowl, it's an interruption by the separation by the mikveh, and it's a prohibition on Pesach. When do we say this? This distinction, if it's strengthening or not, is only by less than the kazayas. Aval bekazayas, but once it's a kazayas, I feel makam asal chazak plates its flavor. If it's once it's a kazayas, then even if it's strengthening the bowl, it's separating by the mikveh and it's a prohibition. Okay, so we have a support for each one. The Gemara says, well, you've created a problem. Kasha na adadi, you have contradictory prices. The Gemara says, Amar Ravuna, Sami kilta mikami chamirta. Ravuna says, erase the lenient one in front of the strict one. Just get rid of that one. That one's not the correct version. Rav Yosef Amar Tanai Shaklas Mialma. Rav Yosef says you want to remove Tanaim from the world. Yeah, how do you just get rid of one? If that's their opinion, you can't just get rid of that. Tanai, there's actually a machlekes Tanaim we find in other places, which is going to support that price is a correct price, a lenient one. It's a different opinion, but the Tanya was taught in a brisa. If you have bread that went moldy, chayiv lavar, you still have to destroy it. It still has a function. You can grind it up and you can use it as a starter for other doughs, for other bread. Moldy bread. Yeah. I don't know exactly. Whatever. However, it's the yeast. Maybe it picks up something in the air. So it still has a function. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, when do we say that that's an issue? That's only if that dough is still in a position for eating. We'll see in a second. But if you have a massive dough that he designated as a stool to sit on, would you do this? Who knows what they would sit on in those days? Remember they had these art classes in school. They do paper mache and they'd make like these lumps of wet newspaper or something, and then it would turn into something. So they made something out of dough. It wasn't for eating. It was some project. They're going to use it for something else. So it's betela. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on over here. So Reb Shimon ben Elazar says it depends if you designated it for eating or if it's designated for some other function. If it's designated for eating, so then there's an issue because maybe you can get some other usage out of it. But if you turned it into some other project, so then it's fine. It's batal. Midam Reb Shimon ben Elazar betela. The fact that Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that it's batal, we're talking about a kazayas. He says kupa sa'ar, once it has a different function, it's batal. Michlal, but that implies Tanakama Savar le betela, that the Tanakama holds that it's not batal. Alma kasavar, we see that the Tanakama holds it should be probably kasavri. What do you have over there? Anyone have a different command? You have kasavar. Alma kasavar kol kazayas, afagav de mevatel, even though it's batal or from whatever its use was, lay batal. It's not considered nullified. Now, who would that support? The Tanakama would support the second brisa because they hold that it's not batal, even though because it's a kazayas, it's not batal. Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds that a kazayas could be batal like the first one. So this is a comment from Rabbi Yosef to Ravuna that why did you just erase the first brisa? We have a support from Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Amalei Abaya was a student of Rabbi Yosef, and they would have a lot of discussions. And the Gemara is comments from Abaya to Rabbi Yosef and questions. Abaya says, "Tiratzta b'kazayas, b'pachas b'kazayas mitiratzta." You found the support for the first brisa that there is an opinion that holds that once it's a kazayas, if it has a specific function, it becomes batal. However, if you remember in the brisas, there was an and one more detail there. That was less than a kazayas. According to the first brisa, even if it didn't have a function, it wasn't necessary to destroy it. And in the second brisa, less than a kazayas was necessary to destroy it. You don't have any support for the first part, that less than a kazayas. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. No. In the first brisa, the kazayas, when it had a function, was batal. Less than a kazayas, even without a function, was fine. Was also batal. But that I don't have a kavachimer for that from the fact that a kazayas is batal when it doesn't have I'm saying when it doesn't have a function. I mean when it's functioning as a support, so then it's batal to the areva. But less than a kazayas when it's doing nothing for the areva, to say that that's batal, that I don't have any support for. So that's a biased question to Rav Yosef. So therefore he says, Ela hava Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Really, everyone holds like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Rashi spells this out very clearly. In the Gemara, when you read it, I guess I don't know how we would figure it out without Rashi. It says V'lei kasha, and there's no problem. Haba makam lisha, hashlei b'makam lisha. Goes like this. Lisha is needing, right? Goes like this. I have three possibilities of where the dough is in the areva. Could be on the bottom. The dough is on the bottom. Then what's going to happen is even a kazayas is batal, according to everyone. If it's mamish on the bottom, even a kazayas. The first brisa, and the bottom of the areva. So the water, the liquid, would spill out without the dough there, because there's a crack there. So the dough's filling that in. Now even the second brisa that says that a kazayas is never batal, that's talking about on the side. So on the side, where I'm kneading, here I have the difference between a kazayas or less than a kazayas. Maybe at the beginning, when you put the water in, you lose it all. So on the side, I have that distinction of if it's a kazayas, then it's not batal, and if it's less than a kazayas, then it is batal. And then on the top, on the lip over here, here it's never batal, even if it's less than a kazayas. So now when I look at the two brises, what I can do is like this: a kazayas is batal, and less than a kazayas doesn't need to have a function. That's talking about that's on the bottom of the areva. Even a kazayas is batal. Less than a kazayas is fine. That's anywhere on it. That's less than a kazayas. Even if it's not on the bottom, that's what it means. Yeah, less than a kazayas, even if it's not on the bottom. The second brisa that says a full kazayas isn't batal, that's also when it's on the side. And less than a kazayas, according to the second brisa, needs to have a function. That's if it's on top. Yeah, on the top of it, even less than a kazayas isn't batal. So he fit it all in by adding in another category here. He fit it in to say that really there's no argument. Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says, when you just said over here that there's a makam lisha and there's shleiba makam lisha means the sides, and shleiba makam lisha means the top. This that you said shleiba makam lisha, not in the place of kneading. So over there it's never batal, and it always needs to be removed and burnt, and whether it's a chatzitza, all of that. Don't say that it's talking about the back of the vessel. That's also considered, even if it's on the rim, it doesn't have to be on the back to be not batal and to be pointless. Even if it's on the rim, spas, there's the lip. Even if it's on the lip, it's also pointless. It also has no purpose there, and you have to destroy it. Gemara says pshita. That's obvious. Gemara says no, it's not so pasha. Sometimes it drips onto the lip, and you use the lip. Sometimes when you every once in a while, Kamash Malan comes to teach us that over there it's chaytzitz and it's not really a necessary function, and it's you have to destroy it. Okay, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav, halacha Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Rav Nachman says in the name of Rav that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, and Reb Shimon ben Elazar told us that if you have a mass of dough that you made you turned into a stool, a chair, so you can leave it on Pesach. Yeah, it would be a little surprising if you paint it. No one would know. What do you do with the art projects where they use macaroni and you have to destroy that? According to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, there's no problem.
That means half the art in my house has to go down. That's what we hang up on the walls.
So, Aini, is that really so that Rav Nachman says in the name of Rav that Rav says that the halacha like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, they can be lenient? Rabbi Yitzchak Barashi Amar Rav, Rabbi Yitzchak Barashi says in the name of Rav, Imtach panea betit betela. The only time that you can use this mass, or you can leave it over Pesach, is if tach betit. That means you put plaster over it, or tit is tar. You put some tar over it, and it's underneath. It's just like a mold for this tar that goes over it. Tach in, light tach light. But if you didn't smear it over, wasn't painted over with whatever, so then you can't use it. It's a problem. Rav says halacha like Reb Shimon ben Elazar according to Rav Nachman. According to Rabbi Yitzchak Barashi, doesn't say that halacha like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. You have other criteria there. Man de masniha, le masniha. The Gemara answers that there's two amirayim according to Rav. I don't know why this is an answer, but apparently that's how the Gemara is satisfied with this. That Rav taught it once like this, Rav taught it once like that, and it's not a contradiction. Which one is the accepted one? I don't know. I'm not sure how to do that, how to figure that out. But two amirayim according to Rav, the Gemara accepts as an answer. Yeah, I heard Rabbi Hershel Schachter talking about the Rav, different Rav, Rabbi Soloveitchik. He says that the Talmidim of Rabbi Soloveitchik, they say over that Rabbi Soloveitchik would always do this, and another Talmud said, "What are you talking about? He would always do that." And he says they're both right because Rabbi Soloveitchik would change his mind. He would learn the sugya again, and he would come up with a new. And he would say no. He would change the whole. So yeah, they both heard it. Okay. Ikad Amri, there are those that say Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rav Ein halacha Reb Shimon ben Elazar. That the halacha is not like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. It's exactly the opposite. Why? The Amar Rav Yitzchak Barashi Amar Rav Imtach panea betit betela v'chulu. Oh, yeah, we put them both together. Why is the halacha not like Reb Shimon ben Elazar? Because Rav holds that you have to cover it over with tit, with tar. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Rav Nachman says the name of Shmuel. Usually it's Rav Nachman name of Shmuel, not Rav Nachman name of Rav. We just had Rav Nachman name of Rav. Apparently Rav Nachman was more by Shmuel. It says Shnei Chatzoy Zeisim, 2 halves of chametz, 2 half olive sizes of chametz. V'chutshel batzik b'neiim, but they're attached by a little sliver, a little string of chametz. So we were talking before about a full kazayas, is more chamer, a half a kazayas is less chamer. Let's say you have 2 halves, but they're attached by a string of chametz. Ryan, so how do you view if it's 1 kazayas or 2? You have to view it like this. If you take the string and the kazayas moves along with it, so then it means it's attached, then it's chayiv levar. Bimlav, but if by taking the string you don't get the 2 kazesim to come along, ein chayiv levar. Then they're not considered attached. Amarula. Ula says, Layamran, this that you don't have to destroy it. Elaba Reva. That's only by a kneading bowl. Aval Babayas, But 2 half zaysim, even if the string won't bring them both together, but it's sitting in the house somewhere, then it's chayav levar. Then you have to destroy it. My timer. What's the reason? The zimnan the konish levanaf gabi adadi. Sounds like he's saying even more than they're attached by the string. Sounds like you may end up sweeping them together, and then you have a kazayas together. Yeah, I was always wondering why we do such a good job for Pesach sweeping. It's all bottle. It's on the floor. It's less than a kazayas. And what's the problem? The problem is that you may end up sweeping it together, and it becomes a kazayas.
When we're talking about all this sweeping and kneading and all this is all theoretical. I mean, we don't actually, the men don't do this. We're just learning the laws, tell our wives.
Okay. Amar Ula says, Ula was a traveler. So he would come from Bavel, it would come to Bavel from Eretz Yisrael. And not Rashi, I don't think so. Rabdimi was a traveler. Ravin was a traveler. Maybe some others. I know Rabbi Yirmiyah moved, Rabbi Zera moved, Rabbi Lozer moved. Only one way. I'm not thinking. But Ula would bring halachas from Eretz Yisrael, Ravin would bring, and Rabdimi would bring halachas from Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, who came first? You have to learn some Gemaras, I don't know. Ula says, Bay b'marava. They asked in Eretz Yisrael, Bayas v'aliyah. We said that you may end up sweeping half kazesim together, or gathering them together. Let's say 1/2 of Zayas is in the house and one half is in the attic. Is that going to get swept together? Do you have to be concerned about that as well? Bayas v'achsajamal. Let's say that you have a house and you have an area outside the house, like a porch or a Florida room. It's opened on one end, one side. It has a roof, but it's open on one. Shnei batim zelef nemizel. Let's say you have 2 rooms, 2 houses. One is within the other. In order to get to the second one, you have to walk through the first one. So Mal, what's the din over there? Do you guys say that you're going to sweep them both together? Maybe there's different people living in each one. So Teku. This they left as a question. Tanurabanan starting the braysa. Pasha ifshe v'nifsala milach aladam v'akelav yachal achla mitamet maseichel mekabeya v'nisrefs v'nitmei v'pesach. Okay, moldy bread. No one's going to eat it, but the dog can still eat it. I don't know if dogs eat bread, but what is that? No, tell me the question again. I don't follow. Oh, yeah. You can yeah. In the kitchen, they can use it for a starter. If you put it on the table, no one's going to eat it. It's not really fit for human consumption, but for animal consumption, it still has a use.
Just for everybody to know, Yossi's concerned about how his bread's made. That's what he's.
So what's the status of it? Was bread. What's the status of it now that it got moldy and humans won't eat it, but it still is edible to a dog? So it says, it will become impure and give over impurity, just like regular food, if it's the size of an egg, which is the way regular food works. In other words, it still has a status of food. And let's say it was truma, and it's chametz. Now, truma, that's chametz, you have to burn for Pesach, right before Pesach. Can you burn it together with tamei, something you're allowed to make it tamei? So here there's a slight leniency that since it's not edible for human consumption, it's not fit for human consumption, you can go and lechatchila burn it with something that's tamei. Normally, you're supposed to try to burn it separately, right? We had a whole discussion on what time of on our Pesach, all of that. But over here, because it's not edible, it's no problem. That's a leniency here, because it's already not fit for human consumption. Mishum Reb Nassan Amru, in the name of Reb Nassan, they said, Eina mitama. It's not considered food. It's not considered food. It's already moldy. Humans can't eat it. It's not. It's eina mitama. Reb Nosson is Reb Nosson Abba. It's the friend of Reb Meir. Kaman Azla Hadatnan. According to whom does it go? The following Mishnah. Klal Amar B'Taras. They set a rule by Taras, by purity. Kalam Yuchad Leichel Adam. Anything that was designated for human consumption, Tamei will be considered Tamei Ad Sheyifsam Lechal Kelev, until it's unfit for a dog. In other words, it is considered food once it was considered food until it gets so spoiled that even a dog won't eat it. Who does that go like? Come on, like whom? Well, whatever the case is, the like Reb Nosson, it doesn't fit with Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson says it's spoiled already. It's not considered food once a human won't eat it. Tana Rabbanan, taught in the Brisa. This is a bowl, but it's not for kneading bread. This is for a tanner, someone that's working leather. Probably stinks. It's pretty gross. No one's going to use this. So you put flour into this for part of the tanning process. They would use flour on the skins. So you put the flour in. So if it was there just 3 days, or within 3 days, you have to destroy that chametz. It's this flour there. But if you put it in 3 days ago, then then you don't have to destroy it. It's already not fit for anything. Amar Reb Nosson says, when do we say the shlei nasan l'teicha? If you didn't put the skins, the hides, into this mixture, but once you put the hides in, then even if it's within 3 days, you don't have to destroy it because it's totally ruined now. You put the skins in there. Even 1 day, even 1 hour, once the hides are in there, it's not considered food. Okay, now we have a complication here because the Mishnah said halacha regarding chametz, that's batzik shebesidke areva. You have dough that's stuck in the side of in the crack of a kneading bowl. And we said the same thing applies to tuma. What are we talking about? The same thing applies to tuma. We're going to have a few suggestions. Suggestions are going to be: does that mean the way it becomes tamei, the way it doesn't become tamei, the way it gets out of the tuma? We're learning that has to do with going to the mikveh. Let's see. If you don't want it to be there, then it's a chatzitza. That means if you're particular about it. If you don't want it there, so then it's chaitzitz. But if you want it to stay there, then it becomes like the bowl, and it's not a separation in the mikveh. Mi dami. Can you compare this to what you just said regarding chametz on Pesach? It says v'chein linyan tuma. The same thing applies to impurity, and then you say a different halacha. You change the criteria when you talk about impurity. Hasam by the chametz b'shiyura talya milsa. All it depended on was the kazayas. Didn't say if you're makbid, if you're not makbid. It just said if it's a kazayas, then it needs to be b'chazik or whatever. Less than a kazayas. Our whole distinction was in size. But here it has to do with you threw in another criteria. You can't say the same thing applies and then change the rules. Amar Rav Yehuda, by chametz it was the shear, and by mikveh it's the kpeda. Amar Rav Yehuda, who we mentioned before, was a student of Shmuel, a student of Rav. He says, "Ema say ula inyan tuma eina kain." Read the Mishnah differently. Say regarding tuma, it's not so. Instead of and so too regarding tuma, say and regarding tuma, it's not so because we're switching the rules. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, I have a little problem with this. If it's Rav Yehuda, I never saw Abaya speaking to Rav Yehuda. I don't know if anyone has a different version. If the new Gemara has changed one of the names there. Ah, no. I see that it's the lay is removed from something, and I'm not sure exactly where. I have on the bottom the Yavitz takes out the lay. So maybe it's Omar Abaya. That would make sense. Abaya didn't say it to Rabbi Yehuda. Abaya says, Ha v'chein le'inyan tumaktani. How can you just switch that? You have to switch that. It's not what it says in the Mishnah. Now, the truth is that a lot of times the Gemara does switch. But it probably, if it has an answer, this is a setup for the answer. We have a better answer. So we don't want to do this if we don't have to. Ela Amar Abaya, rather Abaya says, this is what it means. Okay, we're changing the what we thought we were talking about. Now we're talking about combining, making it into a shear. You see, when it comes to tumah, it needs to be a kaveya the size of an egg. When it comes to chametz, a kazayas is already that amount. So le'inyan tzirif tumah b'pesach, you're combining impurity on Pesach or b'shayim Shana. There's a difference. Ika plukta over here means a distinction. Hechidami, what's the case? Kegoin de ika pachas mikabeya eichlin. I have less than a shear, less than an egg size of food. V'nagu b'hai batzik b'Pesach, and it's touching this dough on Pesach. The isurei chashuv, that because it's forbidden, because of the kazayas, it becomes significant. So mitzdaref, those two foods, one is stuck in the bowl and one is just now attached to it. Those two, the one that's stuck in the bowl is considered chametz because of the kazayas, and therefore it's considered food. And therefore it combines with the other food that's there to make a shear of a kabeya. B'shayim Shana, that's only on Pesach we say this, but the rest of the year, the B'kpei Talia Milsa, it doesn't become food because it's a kazayas the rest of the year. The rest of the year it becomes food only if I want it to be removed. But if I want it to stay there, then the kazayas doesn't matter. In makbidal of mitzdaref, if you want to remove it, then it's considered food and you have a shear. But if you want it to stay there, I don't care what size it is, Hariyah Kareva becomes an Areva. So, what is he doing here? He's saying that the Chein Le'inyan Tumah, the way this would work is the Kazayas on Pesach would work as well. Just like you just told me that there's a Kazayas, do I have to remove it? The same thing regarding Tumah, that because it's a Kazayas becomes significant. And that makes it into food, then that will combine to the kabeya to give off tumah. So yes, the kazayas of Pesach applies to tumah as well. Maskef l'Rava. Rava says miktani mitzdaref. You just changed the whole story here. Does it say that v'chein le'inyan mitzdaref? It doesn't say that. It says v'chaitzitz ktani. It says we're talking about separation by the mikveh. It's not talking. You changed it to making the food tameh. What the Mishnah is talking about, putting the bowl in the mikveh. Elama Rava, rather Rava says v'chein lahalis tara la'areva. What we're talking about is removing to make it tahar, to make the bowl tahar. Hechidami, what's the case? Going to itmei hachareva. The bowl became tameh. Uboilet bulei. And you want to put it in the mikveh. The Pesach, on Pesach, if it's a kazayas, so then it becomes significant. So then it's chaytzitz. And it doesn't work. The tefillah doesn't help because you have to remove that piece. And the rest of the year, it's dependent on not the size, but on the kpeda. If you want to remove it, then it's chaytzitz. If not, it's like the bowl. Maskiv lo Rav Papa. Rav Papa says, does it say so too regarding purity? It says regarding impurity. Now, Rava just got away with telling us, repeating the question in a way of an answer. And the Gemara was totally satisfied with that. Before we said midami, can you compare? This has to do with the kazayas, that has to do with kpeda. Somehow, I'm not sure exactly how what switched exactly for Rava to repeat that question in a way of an answer, and it gets passed through. I'm not sure. But Rav Papa has a question. He says it doesn't talk. Doesn't say taret. It's talking about tuma. Rav Papa says v'chein linyan lahiru tuma la'areva. We're talking about making the bowl tame. Hechidami, what's the case? Going the naga sheretz by batzik. We're talking about that a sheretz touched this dough. So if it's bepesach, the suri chashuv on Pesach that it's significant because it was a kazayas, then it's chaitzitz. Then it's the dough is separated from the bowl because the dough you needed to remove because it was chametz, and therefore the bowl doesn't become tamei. Only the dough is tamei. The bowl doesn't become tamei. The food became tamei, but not the bowl, and that's the food is separated from the bowl. But the rest of the year, the bikvei talia that is dependent in your how particular you are in makbid of chaitzitz. Then it depends. If you're makbid, then it's chaitzitz. But if you want it to stay there, then the sheretz that touched the dough actually touched the bowl because the dough is the bowl. Okay, that's Rav Papa's pshat, and again he's doing the same thing that Rav is doing. He's just saying that I know it's not exactly like Pesach, but it's the same style as Pesach. That just like on Pesach, it's the dough. Yeah, is the dough the bowl based on a kazayas? The rest of the year is the dough the bowl based on kpeda. Do you want it there or not? Okay, batzik acherish. Here we say we broke the mission up into two, batzik for chametz, and then we broke it up into tuma. That's how this was divided. And now we have a new mishnah. Batzik acherish, deaf dough. What does it mean it's deaf? Just like someone that's deaf looks the same. He has ears, but it happens to be that he can't hear. So too, this dough, it looks the same. What is it? So here, you can't tell if this dough became chametz. That's the comparison to death. Another pshat is it became hard. It's supposed to be batzik acheres. But it became like clay that you can't tell anything on it. There's many pshatim on batzik acheres, and I'm sure there's other the Rishonim discuss if it doesn't make a sound or whatever. Anyway, whatever the case is, it's all the same. That you can't tell that if it became chametz. Why exactly? If it waited the amount of time that another dough, the same, was started at the same time, or took the same amount of time, and that dough became chametz, then you have to consider this dough chametz as well. 18 minutes or whatever. If you don't have other dough there, then how does it work? Amar Rabavo, Amar Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Rabavo says in the name of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Reish Lakish, the amount of time that it takes to go from Migdal Nunya to Tveria, which is a mil. Did you live in Migdal Nunya? No. Really? How long does it take to walk there? A mil. A mil is 13 to 18 minutes or something. Now, apparently, Migdal today, I think, is right next to Migdal Nunya. I think the old city of Yeah, I saw in the Steinfeld's Gemara has a note over there that the archaeologists found in 2009 or something a menorah. Yeah, they found an old shul with a menorah there, 2,000-year-old menorah, seven branches. The name of a mill. So the Gemara says, so why don't you say a mill if that's what you're trying to say? It's a mill. A mill is a distance. How big is it? 2,000 amos. Hakamash Malan. It's coming to tell us the shear of the mill. How big is a mill? It's telling us how big a mill is. That a mill is. Don't think a mill is a mile, maybe. Okay. Amar Rabavo, Amar Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Rabavo says, in the name of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Ulagabal. Okay, we have a few pshatim here. Rashi tells us that it's talking about someone that needs other people's dough, not needs their dough. He needs their dough. All right, and his utensils are tamei. So he's trying to get utensils that are tahar. So how far does he have to walk? So we're going to say 4 mil, up to 4 mil. Yeah. Today it's an appliance. The Mefarshim ask why does it have to be someone else's dough? Okay, whatever. Ula tefila, when it comes to davening, different pshatim over here. One pshat is that if there's a shul within 4 mil, then you have to go to the shul. Otherwise, you can daven in the house. Other pshatim are to wash your hands to daven. This the Rashi tells us different pshatim. Ula netilas yadayim, and also for washing your hands. So if that was the pshat by davening, then that's not going to fit over here. We're talking about for eating. So if you can't find water, so then you're obligated to search for water within the next 4 mil. Otherwise, you can use other things. All of these is our bas milan. Why are we mentioning this? Well, we just had Reb Shimon ben Lakish talking about a mil. So we have another statement from Reb Shimon ben Lakish about walking 4 mil to these 3 halachas. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Evo Amra. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says it wasn't Rabavo, or it wasn't Rabavo that said in the name of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, it was really Eva. Va'arba, and there were actually 4 items, not 3 items. Amarba, Va'arba, Amarba. V'chadaminayu ibud, and one of them is ibud. We're talking about tanning skin. The Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. We're talking about when does the hide switch from being flesh to being leather. So once it's tan. So when they would step on the hide. So if they stepped on it enough, then it becomes tahar, and it's not flesh anymore. Now it's leather. Chutz mi'ara adam, except for human flesh. How long does it take to work on this? To step on it, to turn it into to turn the hide into leather. Amarav Inya, Amarav Yanai, Kedei Hilach Arba Milan. Also the walking of 4 mil. Amarav Yosef Reb Chanina. Reb Chanina says we're talking about someone who's on the road. We're talking about when do you have to walk 4 mil? That's if it's in the direction that you were headed anyway. We tell you don't stop, keep going in the direction. But if you have to go out of your way, so then afilu mil ain't a chayze. You don't have to go out of your way even 1 mil. Amaravacha uminei, and from this we understand milu deina chayzer apachas mi mil chayzer. That less than a mil you do have to go out of your way. So when it comes to doing a mitzvah, you have to measure the effort of a mil, and that's how much you have to do. Okay.